Hello and welcome to the Gone Traveling podcast. We are looking at the BKT EuroCup, the 2025-2026 seasons, episode 21. We have the completion of the regular season. Round 18 was this week. We, being myself, David Hein of Taking the Charge Substack and Hein News, and with me, as always, Marco Munno, communication specialist and collaborator with La Giornale Tatipo. Marco, good day. How are you?
Well, it's fine. I mean, we had uh, a cool last round in the first round of in the first phase of the Eurocup, and then preparing to the elimination time that will follow.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some of these games more or less. Jerusalem ended up losing, but they clinched the top overall seat, so home court through the course of the playoffs. Bahcesehir ended up knocking off Neptunus to clinch second place in Group A behind Jerusalem. Bourg ended up losing, and that gave Besiktas first place in Group B. And then the big game was Cluj beating Aris to clinch that final spot in the playoffs. We had some big scoring nights, 111 plus point games. And so the playoff picture is, so we will, so there's a break. The next games are not until the eighth finals are not until March 10th, which is the Tuesday and Wednesday, 11th. So there's a break between, there's the FIBA break between, and we will review the regular season next week, take a week off, not because we don't love you, but because we're going to take a week off. And then on March 5th is the preview show of the eighth finals. Eighth finals are as follows: Cedevita against Chemnitz. Cedevita against Chemnitz. And the winner of that faces Borg. Turk Telekom hosting Manresa. And the winner of that goes on to face Jerusalem. Buducnost takes on Cluj at home, and then the winner of that plays at Bahcesehir. Interesting about that game, Buducnost will host Cluj 4 days later in the third round of the second stage of the Alba League. So that second game will probably be more interesting. The first game is definitely more interesting than the second game, but and then the other one is the Italian Derby. I think Marco's looking forward to that. Reyer against Trento in Venice. And then the winner of that goes to play at Besiktas. Trento won at home 96-90 over Reyer in the Serie A in mid-December. So, like I said, we're gonna preview those, and those fun facts will probably come up later on in 3 weeks' time. But let's get to it. You want to start with Turk Telekom and their home victory. 79-62 over Chemnitz. They had the big fourth quarter run. Turk Telekom ended up fourth, hosting then, who do we say? Manresa, after Buducnost won. Chemnitz into the playoffs already for the first time in their first appearance at sixth place. I will let you go.
Yes, we said in the previous podcast that Chemnitz can be really problematic um, to match up against, and they can pull up some surprises, or at least put up in some troubles. Better teams on paper, and in this match they doesn't really have a purpose uh, about standings, because after the win on Trento of the day before, their place is sealed. And but they gave a good fight against Turk Telekom, and even if at least for three quarter, in the first three quarter, Turk Telekom that instead was playing for a better position, because they played before the game of between Buducnost and Burke. And so if they wanted to win and hope that Buducnost that played later would lose, and I guess Berg, you can think that Buducnost has not really an easy way to be uh, in front of them into the final standings. But anyway, it was not an easy game for Turk Telekom, and they had their back and forth against Chemnitz, and they ran in the last moments of the third quarter, and only in the fourth quarter they had the opportunity to build up on their lead and have a huge run. And I think Turk Telekom finds out again that Chemnitz can be really problematic in a matchup against in the second phase. They can win it all? No, I don't think so. But they can really give problem. And on their way, Turk Telecom has the best shooter about the 3 point percentage at the end of the regular season. And once again, Ullman stepped up, and he had some troubles in the beginning of the game because he had two fouls in the early moments. But after he came back, he was really important, and um, for the win, at the end of the game, you can think he's the MVP. So it was really important, 14 points and 5 rebounds. But there is a reason in being the best 3 point shooter after regular season, 54%. That is a really huge percentage, even if you're not really a specialist. You're one of the guy that is really attention from the defense on the games. And then Turk Telecom at the end was the winner and earned their place. And now we will see how they will fare into the second phase.
Yeah. Chemnitz played without first of all to the run. I mean, it was 54, 52, and then it was 57, 53, 57, 54 3-point game. And then a 19-2 run to make it a 20-point lead. Three three-pointers, two of those from Jalen Smith, obviously a guy that, we all know has been fantastic. Chemnitz, I've been saying it all year. This is not a team I want to play in the playoffs. And, one-off game for Cedevita. Those guards, you look at Davis, you look at Sabande, and one of the things is they're gonna really have to need to have Amadou So. He didn't play this game, so he's gonna have to be there. A revelation for them has been Roman Badime, who actually had a shoulder surgery in October and only played his third game back. Had 12 points, he had 16 points last week. So that's been a major addition for that team. And Mashidi didn't play either. This is a team that doesn't have a long roster anyhow, a lot of depth because they don't have very strong Germans, and in German league you need to have 6 and 6, and so they kind of have like some bench fodder at the end, that guys that don't really play that much and don't really contribute that much. You lose this game, you show that you're able to play against a strong Turkish team in Turkey, in Turkey, for whatever it was, three quarters or so, and then take go into the playoffs. Buducnost, this game surprised me. I not necessarily that they won, so they beat Borg at home 96-84. 12 and 6, 8 and 1 at home for Buducnost. And Buducnost needed it because they ended up winning and going to 12 and 6 to take third place. If they had lost, they would have dropped all the way down to fifth place. So they really needed this victory. Borg at 13 and 5. With their loss, they dropped to second to allow Besiktas to take ahead. Buducnost jumped out to a double-digit lead after 4 minutes, and it was basically over. I mean, it was a 21 point lead, and then Borg, came back, and you're thinking, oh shit, there's another comeback. But Farrell, had two free throws and assists on the next two scores, and it was a 12-point game again with 2 minutes left. Farrell, big game, 19 points and 6 assists. Alex Boudier was great all game, 18 and 5. The team had 15 steals, 21 points off those turnovers. Mulare really stepped up with 18 points. Darius McGee, 3 of 10 on threes. So kind of struggled on that, 11 points and 5 turnovers. Buducnost really impressed me with their performance in this game. You move right on to Besiktas, yeah? Or do you want to say anything about Buducnost and Borg?
What I think it's really a bad surprise to work to lose the first spot after being, the first into the Group B, at least for the whole season. So uh, yeah, but on the other hand, we always said that Buducnost had some downs at the beginning of the season, but after they come back strong and they're not really easy to match up with. So
Especially at
uh,
home, especially at home.
yeah, and also there is a bit of a unlucky schedule for to match up against them at the last game because for instance the game that Besiktas had really last one with some opponents that really had their season practically over led to other teams to take profit of that. Let's take, for instance, Besiktas 40-point win.
Well, let's set you up. So you want to talk about Matt Thomas? That's from Besiktas, 40-point win, 114 to 74. Paninios, 3 and 15. Borg, Besiktas, 13 and 5, and as we said, took first place after the Borg loss. Matt Thomas, 12 points. I'll let you go with that.
Yes, we were saying that Besiktas has really a huge win, 40 points, and also they had their motivation to be really good on the match, to be focused on that because they had the first spot to conquer, and that's what happened. And we talked about the chances to win it all for Besiktas from the beginning, basically. And we always said that maybe in their depth, the best candidate for the MVP at the end of the season would be Zizic, that is from the inside, but uh, and also they had some strong players on the roster from the beginning. So we tend to forget maybe some players that were added to give strength to the team. And if you see this match, the best player about PAR was really Matt Thomas. He had an astonishing plus 39, plus 39. That is really a lot. And when you have a guy like him, you can really have an instrumental piece for some situation because when you have really a great shooter like that, you have to respect that. You have to respect it, and you can really open up space on the interior. So when we are saying that Zizic can really have an impact, they added Sally, and so they can really be big and huge on the paint. Sally also provided a soft touch a bit outside the paint, and also they got in their mix they got also Kamagate. They really need people that can really open up the space and to give balance to the offense. And a guy like Matt Thomas that can really shoot, that is really used to be important in some systems. He played in EuroLeague, and he was not always the main option, but it's really useful to uh, easier the way to the main options of the team. And a guy like him can really be important in a team that wants to win, as Besiktas. And in games like that, in which you can really avoid to rely on the best players if you got some important backups. It was a moment that happened. Matt Thomas, 12 points, the best game in his Besiktas run in EuroCup in 21 minutes, and you can rest other players because you can count on them. Instead, when the game gets other, you can really have him taking away pressure from the big star. So it was one of the addiction, and maybe sadly make more noise about the addiction on the roster, but Matt Thomas as well is really important and can and shows that he is really into the system, into the Besiktas system, and he can really be useful uh, now that Besiktas wanted to play for the win, to win it all.
40-point win, largest margin of victory in club history. This is a Euro Cup, of course. Club record, scoring points 114, 33 assists, club record, 19 three-pointers, club record, performance index rating of 147, also performance, also club record. Sorry. Let's move to the big game. Cluj, Aris. I want to talk about Karel Guzman. We talked about Russell, we talked about Creek, we talked about Molinar, we talked about Milicic, we even talked about Woodbury. I was even thinking about maybe talking about Caesar. We haven't talked about him yet, which gave me a chance to talk about him, which is pretty cool. 111-92 win for Cluj. 9-9, take the final spot in the in the playoffs. Third straight year of making the playoffs, 6-3 at home. This is definitely a place where they play better. Cluj do 6-0 all time against Aris. They've never lost to Aris. Aris, 8-10, just outside the playoffs. This was 5 games better, 5 wins more than they had last season. So that's good. Aris started, they had 9-0 early run for a 9-1 lead, and then Cluj basically began taking over. It was a 31-21 lead in the first quarter, and Guzman had 11 points. Cluj was never really threatened the rest of the way, and the party in Romania will play on for another month. We can be excited about this team. Guzman ended with 19 points, three rebounds, 3 assists. He had a team high 27 PIR. Molinar did his thing with 20 points, 7 assists. Russell, 19 and 8 assists. But the Cuban, this is his 6th season at Cluj. He came over from Argentina in 2020, has really become a leader of the Cuban national team. But as I mentioned, he's kind of been looked over from all these other guys. But he's been super consistent the entire season, and this just goes to show, he's 9 points, 4 rebounds, nearly 2 assists, a steal a game. 17 and 10 against Reyer. 12 and 12 against Hamburg, 16 against actually 12 and 7. He was flirting with a triple double. I didn't even realize that against Hamburg. So Guzman, really a high level guy that isn't needed with his defensive play and offense and some of his offense as well. Averages more than an offensive rebound a game. So, any thoughts on Guzman, or we should move on to your guy? Move on to your guy. Let's do it. Leo Candi, Reyer, Umana Reyer Venice take down Jerusalem. The powerhouse at home, Reyer, 83-80 against Jerusalem, 11-7 overall, 8-1 at home. Buducnost also 8-1. And Besiktas, the only undefeated team. Those are the best two records, and behind Besiktas, right? There's nobody else. Nope. So the two powerhouses at home, or three powerhouses at home, Besiktas, Buducnost, and Reyer. It was a 14 point game late in the third. Jerusalem charged back, tied the game, and I'll let you take on from there.
Yeah, talking about gaining some momentum to go into the second phase, you can see that Venice really take down uh, maybe the best team of the regular season part. But they really pulled up a huge win on Jerusalem. It was an anticlimactic finish, to say the least, because there were most important the errors instead of the scoring. But it happened in the last minute when Venice was up by 5, and they went up by 5 because of Candi, and they had when it was 2 minutes at the end, we had the two teams were tied 73 to 73, and then we had two free throws and a triple from Candi, 5 into the 7 points scored into that mini run by Venice 7-2 to go into the last minute with 5 point advantage, and Candy scored 5 of that 7, and he proved to be really important in a game in which RJ Cole didn't play, in which Bowman didn't play. So they were really short on the backup, on the backcourt side. And Candy was into his first start of the EuroCup season. And when he was young, he was really so at a defensive specialist, and uh, he didn't became a national team player, at least for now, but he proved to be really worth to be in a system like the um, the Venice one of a cup that he can really not win, but have some chances to be to go on into after the regular season, after the first matchup into the competition, and at the end Leo was really important. He dished out also 6 assists, 8 points and 6 assists. But the points in the crunch after the start of the missing, because we had some missed from Jerusalem, from Harper. We had an unsportsmanship unsportsmanship like foul from Venice at the end that opened up the another chance to win from Jerusalem. Uh, that anyway misses the opportunity, but and even if Candi itself loses an important ball at the end and he committed 9 turnover, it was more about the contribution that he gave with with not really expectation to be so important when it matters the most. So when the game was tied at 2 minutes at the end, and at the end of the game, it was really important and to give that win. And then yes, we have the Italian derby on the next round, and Venice, as you can see into the Italian league as well, goes into the match as the favorite and also saves some trip, and having more time to recover and a shorter trip can be also important in a time in which you have schedule so tight.
You know, we talked about the the time when like Parks was out and Bowman was out and how these guys picked up, you know. I think for that Neptunus game, we talked about somebody else, but he had 12, Candy had 12 points in that game. And that's why you look and see these guys that, you know, because they had those chances to play in those other games and were able to perform. I think that's why, you know, you gave Nikolic, you know that you're giving these guys a better chance to kind of perform. You know, don't forget, Candy might be kind of an unknown to a lot of people. He has reached the semifinals of the Euro Cup, you know, as a 20-year-old. He was playing with Reggio Emilia and he played in the semifinals. He averaged 21 minutes in the semifinals, 3.5 points against Lokomotiv back in 2017-18 season. You know, I he was this was his first start of the regular season, the first start of the Euro Cup season. He started 6 of those games that year for Reggio Emilia as a 20-year-old. So you know, this is not a guy who doesn't have any experience. You know, I mean, so you know, him coming over from Tortuna or the Torona, you know, over the off season, played in the BCL the last 2 seasons, you know, contributed some good time there as well. So, you know, congrats to a strong game for him. Last game let's talk about is Trento's win over Ulm. Trento wins 76-68. It's you know, another strong performance by Trento as they finish the season strong, 11-7. They were 6-12 last season, and Ulm finish at 7-11. They had already been eliminated, but this is their second straight seventh place finish after they had reached the playoffs three straight times. I want to talk about Selom Mawugbe, 7 points, 7 rebounds, a steal and a block, and a PAR of 17. You know, he's averaged 4 points, 69% on 2 pointers, averages just under 2 offensive rebounds a game, just under 5 total rebounds. He's had um, 5 blocks in the last 3 games. You know, he's been able to. There was the game where Jordan Bailly was out, and he was able to take a major portion of that as well. Trento just controlled the second half and grabbed the win. You know, this is Mawugbe's second season in Trento. He had been with Manresa at the end of the 23-24 season after starting the year in Le Mans. And he started his career over here in Germany with Rostock Seawolves. He was this top shot blocker in the German league and was third in rebounds. So, you know, it's not a guy that doesn't have some background. Thoughts on Trento as they come into the playoffs? Anything or on Mawugbe?
Yeah, I think Trento in his DNA has always the need of a center that can really give some athleticism. Maybe not really a soft touch, going out of the paint, but a really athletic guy. And in the last maybe 10 years, it was really an important piece of their roster, the guy that can really be strong on the paint, be strong about athleticism. And now that spot is belongs to Mawugbe, and so if it sits well because it's not his first days on Trento, so they really rely on that guy, even changing the guys around. So yeah, he fits perfectly into the Trento DNA.
All right. This is at the point where we would usually look at the week ahead. Our next week ahead is not until March 10 and 11. As we mentioned, that is when the single game elimination eighth finals take place. As we mentioned, we will do a recap review of the regular season for next week, take a week off, and then the preview of the eight finals, the four games. One, two, three, yeah, four games will come out on March 5th. So, and then the games, as we said, are on March 10 and 11. Marco, let's call it a podcast. Let everybody continue on with the rest of their busy days, and we appreciate you listening to us. Marco, let everybody know where they can find you on the social medias.
Yes, you can find me on any social media as Marco A. Munno, but mostly on X. The surname is Munno.
And I am at Hein News, HEINNEWS, HEINNEWS. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show this week. We will catch you next week with the recap review of the 2025-2026 Euro Cup regular season. Talk to you next week.